Viewers have been asking me to tear the mysterious Mare-Do-Well a new one for just about as long as I've been making these videos. Not having seen the episode since first marathoning the show in 2012, I remembered not liking it very much, but I wasn't sure it was nearly as bad as people made it out to be. Having rewatched it now, I can safely say that yes, it is a really terrible episode, but what's more interesting to me than the fact that it's terrible is the reasons usually given for why. Many have criticized the way that the main six went about trying to teach Rainbow Dash a lesson through a convoluted scheme instead of through communication, along with the fact that the lesson that Rainbow learns at the end doesn't seem to be earned by the episode's narrative at all. These things are certainly problematic, but I think that Castlemania had very similar problems, and that episode's pretty well liked by the fandom. Some criticize the fact that the plan the main six concocted barely seems to make any sense, leaving the plot a confusing mess, but there have been plenty of popular episodes with confusing and unclean storylines, such as A Canterlot Wedding or the Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000, which only come under fire from the likes of Anthony C. One of my favorite critics and all-around idols, Film Crit Hulk, explains in his writing the concept of tangible details. Basically, when people really love or really hate something, they tend to explain what made it good or bad by talking about the details which stand out the most. For instance, if you ask most people why they hated Star Wars Episode 1, they'll tell you it was Jar Jar Binks that ruined the film, even though he's just one part of a much more complicated problem. Other films, such as Disney's highly successful Frozen, have proven that a comedic character inserted particularly to appeal to small children does not automatically ruin a movie, but that character works in Frozen because the movie is all around well written, while Star Wars Episode 1 isn't. The mysterious Mare-Do-Well doesn't suck just because it makes no sense. The entire episode is just a pile of boring garbage. So much of the dialogue is trite and forced that it's almost embarrassing to watch. Just look at the scene at the beginning where all the kids in Rainbow Dash's fan club try to come up with the best synonym for awesome to describe her with. Is anyone laughing at this? Can you even imagine this conversation taking place outside of trying to establish the storyline of this episode? Or what about the scene where, after the Mare-Do-Well's first appearance, the mayor just shows up and exposits to a random group of surrounding people that there is a new hero in town and she shall be known as the mysterious Mare-Do-Well. It's such a random way to set up the scene just so that Rainbow Dash would be able to hear her rival's name right after meeting her. The entire episode is so painfully repetitive that it feels longer than the average MLP episode. We watch Rainbow Dash save the day 3 different times, and while it serves to show us how cocky she's getting, none of the scenes are really exciting. Then we have 3 different scenes of Rainbow Dash getting shown up by the mysterious Mare-Do-Well, all of which are too long and don't really serve any purpose that couldn't have been handled in just one scene. The episode reaches its lowest point, however, when Rainbow Dash starts desperately trying to find problems to solve around town. Once again, we sit through 3 whole scenes of Rainbow Dash enacting completely unfunny scenarios, and we already get the point right from the start. Even the final chase scene with Rainbow Dash trying to chase down Mare-Do-Well is repetitive and boring to watch, and they could have done so much more with having the main six creatively avoid Rainbow's dashing. It's all just so uninteresting and pointless that it's hard to watch. By the end of the episode, nothing is clear that wasn't from the very beginning, and that's sad because conceptually, this episode actually had a pretty good idea with how to further Rainbow Dash's development. Rainbow Dash isn't the kind of pony who understands something just by being told. Time and time again, she will reject learning something until she experiences firsthand the benefits of it. She's also been shown to be incredibly competitive, so the idea of playing on her competitive nature to teach her a lesson was kind of brilliant. All they had to do was write it so that the mysterious Mare-Do-Well shows up Rainbow Dash and then somehow shows Rainbow Dash how humility and tact help her to get things done better. And I think that's what the episode was trying to do, but it just kind of fails. The one scene that could have turned the whole episode around is the one where the main six are talking about how awesome Mare-Do-Well is in front of Rainbow Dash. Much has been said about how the main six are just kind of bragging about how awesome they themselves are, and how this does not seem to help Rainbow Dash in any way. All it would have taken was for one of the main six to point out to Rainbow Dash that the reason Mare-Do-Well was able to get things done so much more efficiently is because she wasn't stopping to sign autographs and pat herself on the back. Then there could have been a scene where Rainbow Dash realizes firsthand that she's been doing things out of self-interest and ends up selflessly helping some pony in the end and feeling really good about it. It makes a hell of a lot more sense than a minute-long scene of her chasing Mare-Do-Well down, literally being told the lesson that she was supposed to learn, and somehow now perfectly understanding it, even though she had no reason to do so before. Altogether, the mysterious Mare-Do-Well was a good episode concept, executed so poorly that it managed to be one of the worst episodes episodes of the entire show. While the Mare-Do-Well costume design is pretty fantastic and general concept is sound, the episode's completely ridiculous dialogue, utter failure to provide a cohesive storyline, and overall boringness make it a dark mark on the otherwise fantastic front half of Season 2. Up next, to cleanse my palate, I'll be tackling one of my favorite episodes of Season 2 instead. I'll see you then.
The city drained my life away. Let's pack it up and call it a day. I call it by name, I say, can you offer me a place to stay?